All right, today on Building Brevard, this is episode number 12, and we have True Florida Homes, and this one's going to be great, so check it out. And today I have the privilege and honor of having Rich, tell me your last name again. Maddalena. So today I have the privilege and honor of Rich Maddalena with True Florida Homes, and welcome to the podcast, Rich.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, give the viewers a little history of you, and I know that you're a true Florida native, but let's dive into some of your history here.
Sure. So yeah, true Florida native, born and raised in Fort Lauderdale. Been in home building large majority of my life. Yep. Got into corporate home building after the downturn, and went back. Actually put myself back in college later in life, graduated from Nova Southeastern University down in Fort Lauderdale, and then went on to work for a couple of major national home builders, K. Hovnanian, Lennar, Minto. What brought me up to originally Central Florida was Tavistock Development. Caught wind of me, had me come up, and we hit it off. And next thing I know, I was moving to Central Florida, where I promised myself I would never live being a Floridian, but here we are. I've always had a special spot here in Brevard County. Aunt and uncle lived here 20 plus years, own a business here. My mom lives here. So after Tavistock, I got on with a built-to-rent company out of Atlanta. I was their division vice president for 2 years, got them up and going. And then in February of 2023, we decided that it was time to move on, and I wanted to start my own company. So in June of 2023, rolled out True Florida Homes.
Nice. Let's go back to, you said you went back to school. So
I went back to school.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
It was painful. I was obviously a little bit older than most of my peers in college class. I was a builder and developer, and also owned my own real estate company up in Bozeman, Montana, for some time. And unfortunately, 2008 caught up with me like it did everyone else in the industry. I came home to Florida, and not knowing what I was going to do, home building was a mess, real estate was a mess. Yeah. I went back to college. So it was a challenge, obviously coming from being a business owner, being thrown back into college feet first, and then being with younger people that, haven't quite had any life experiences to that point. And then there was me sitting in the classroom that had already been in business, lost the business, and sitting in college classes.
So we're similar to that, because I was on the 40-year plan, as I like to say. Instead of the 4-year, I was on the 40-year plan. And I think it's very interesting that, when you go, like you mentioned, when you go back to school with business experience, you look at it differently.
Everything
is, how does that filter the lens through the company or the company that I want to start? Yes. And, I think it was very interesting for me, because I had a bunch of younger kids I had even high school kids in the class, right, that were like dual enrolled, and they always looked at me like, wow, you get it. And I'm like, you'll get it.
You'll get it.
It just takes time, right? Like, they're forcing you to take all these classes, but yet you don't know what you want to do, how it's going to apply to your life. And I went back, and I was a much better student.
I agree with that statement as well, because I would have been just a complete mess at 19, 20 years old in college. I would have just been wasting my parents' money. So.
Yeah. What'd you get a degree in?
Business management.
Yeah.
So I could have, I looked at a lot of the construction programs throughout the state. Obviously, a big fan of University of Florida. Looked at the construction program up in North Florida, up in Jacksonville. But then I realized I had already been doing construction, and I owned a construction company. And like I said, been doing construction since I was a kid with my dad. So I was like, what is a construction degree going to do for me any more than what my experience in construction? So it made better sense to go for the business management degree. It can be applied a lot more places. So it was just the safer safer decision.
So in 23, you launch your new company,
True Florida Homes.
Yeah. What makes you guys different?
So I am really big on attention to detail and quality. I think there's an element in home building these days that it's almost kind of painful to see. There is no attention to detail and quality with the large masses of homes being built today, and with the cost of material and everything else that goes into a home, I feel like the least that we could do is provide a quality product, right. And that's just not happening. So the houses keep going up in price, and unfortunately, there's not much we can do about that. I mean, that's just the reality of where we are. But that shouldn't correlate to detail and quality. Right. The two are, in my mind, totally separate of one another. I mean, cost or cost, but at least recognizing that, hey, these homes cost a lot of money to build. Then what we do have control of and power over is that attention to detail and quality that's missing. Yeah. So, we have the houses going up, the money's being spent to build these, but the quality's just not there. So that was probably the largest reason for deciding to go out on my own, was to do it better. Yeah.
I think that's missing across the U.S. Building is just one segment of the market.
Sure.
But how does the price go up and the quality go down? The Economics 101 says that shouldn't happen.
It shouldn't happen. And again, I just don't believe that the two are connected. I think that, price is price, but quality, even on a lesser priced home, there should still be a level of quality and attention to detail. This comes down to, staying on top of the workers to make sure that they're getting walls straight and window returns straight, and just basically oversight, which is just it's not there.
Yeah. I think when you talk to the big national brands, right, the superintendent or whatever you want to call that in that position,
they're stretched thin. I have buddies that are in the business and they're managing 30, 40 houses at a time. Well, how much emphasis then can you put on making sure everything is done perfect when you're trying to manage 30 or 40 at a time? Right. And there lies, I think, one of the many problems. Yeah. With home building.
And I think what the general public doesn't understand is you say, okay, 30 to 40, but every one of those has a small tweak that needs to happen midstream, right?
There's nothing goes perfect in home building. I just here this morning dealing with it firsthand. Finally got the doors in from the manufacturer, all excited. We go to install them, and the doors quite aren't the size that we had ordered. Right. It's like you can't make this stuff up. Every day is a challenge in home building and construction in general, but it's a grind, and because of all those challenges is more of a reason why somebody needs to be staying on point every day to oversee it, because if not, it's just going to get pushed through. Right. We'll just figure out a way to make it work. Well, that doesn't always work.
Yeah. To do the math and for the consumer to truly understand, right? If you're doing, let's just call it 30 homes, and you only have 8 hours a day, 20 days a week on average, right? You might be able to go to that property 3 or 4 times, deal with an issue, but you're not truly overseeing, is everything...
Every aspect of it.
Right. Is it truly... straight.
Those guys don't have the time to walk around with a 6-foot level and put it on all the walls and take out their square and make sure all the corners are true. The list goes on and on and on. And it's very time consuming. And that's, I guess one could equate that to cost, because then at that level, obviously, you would need more people to provide that oversight. But I still feel like that needs to be done with the cost of these homes, regardless of how they make it work. You're spending $300, $400, $500,000+. I believe everybody's deserving of a quality home.
Yeah.
Not the Taj Mahal, but a quality home.
Yeah. So without just feature dumping, as I would maybe call it, but what are some of the few things that you do differently than most builders? Oh,
I love this. So one of the things I'm very proud of is I put insulation in all my interior walls. Mm-hmm. And I do that only for one reason only, privacy. Mm-hmm. I believe when a bathroom door is closed or a bedroom door is closed, that means that somebody wants a level of privacy. And what we're finding in the lower priced homes and even in the $1 million and $2 million homes, they're not putting, the average builder is not insulating.
Even
the
a nice builder,
walls.
Luxury builder is not doing it.
No. I have friends right now that just built a home in Scottsdale. I was over visiting them at the first of the year, and the home's gorgeous. And I was laying in bed one evening, and I could hear them out in the kitchen, and I could hear the conversations, the pots moving around, and I was like, what is going on here? This is like really loud. So the next morning I got up, grabbed a cup of coffee, walked down the street because they're still in an active construction site. And of course, I'm going to take advantage and go see how's everyone else building nice homes. And I'm glad I did that, because I was walking through some of the ongoing homes being built, and I could tell that the insulation companies had just been there because the ceilings were done. Some of the exterior walls, had some insulation, but none of the interior walls had insulation. And I noticed this throughout many of the homes that I visited that morning. They are not putting insulation in the interior walls. Well, sure enough, my friend went back to the sales office and inquired, and at $1.8 million in Scottsdale, Arizona, no, we don't put.
It's not a standard feature.
Insulation. That was an upgrade.
Yeah.
So that's not an upgrade
Right.
with me. That's a standard. I like to say, if it's standard at the nationals, then I'm not doing it. And what I mean by that is some of the examples: standard interior door heights and exterior door heights, 6'8". I only do 8 foot.
Yep.
So we start at 8 foot. Standard homes you're hard pressed to find a builder that's doing an 8 foot ceiling anymore, but they're doing a 9. 9's an upgrade. My ceilings start at 10 feet,
right,
and then go up from there. I'm a big believer in natural light, so all my windows are oversized. I'm only building with impact windows. I'm a big fan of PGT, being from South Florida. They're the ones that kind of set the standards in the industry, working hand in hand with Miami-Dade. So I'm a big believer in PGT. That's not to say there's not other manufacturers out there that aren't doing a good job. It's just I'm from South Florida. I'm a PGT fan.
Yeah.
So all my homes have impact windows. Most of the clientele that I'm trying to target with my homes, I believe, are wanting impact windows and not wanting to deal with shutters and
safety as well, right? Safety, privacy,
and that's I'm glad you brought that up, because everybody thinks impact windows just for purposes of hurricane. And there's so many more benefits to impact windows other than storm protection. Yep. There's the energy cost savings having those windows. There's again, privacy, the being able to silence the noise from the outside, from the inside, makes a big difference with impact windows. And probably one of the most important things, especially here in Florida where the sun is very strong, all the light going through an impact window is what they call good light. It's not bad light, meaning that you can have a $10,000 sofa underneath the window or in front of the sliding glass door, and it's not going to fade because that light coming through is filtered, and so that light is what they call good light or clean light, and it's not going to ruin your flooring or your furniture.
Yeah.
So, and then by the way, if somebody wants to try to break into your house, they can take a baseball bat to the window and they can be there a half hour, beating away.
Eventually they'll get through it.
Eventually they're going to get through it, but at that point, everybody's in the neighborhood has heard, the glass cracking and the bat or whatever they're using trying to get through it, and then they better have a pocket knife or something with them too, because even once the glass breaks, you still have to get through the membrane, and that requires taking out a knife and cutting through it, and that's not going to cut very easy because the glass is all stuck to the membrane still. So it's not like it's an easy cut either. So by the time they get in through that window, hopefully somebody in the neighborhood has heard what's going on and called.
I'll never forget going up to their booth, and they were like, "We'll give you a free set of windows if on the first swing you can get through." And they had like a crowbar, a 3-iron, a baseball bat. I'm like, I'm taking the 3-iron. Couldn't everybody tried. It was it truly is a safe window.
And all impact windows are in fact impact windows, but like everything, there's just different qualities of impact windows. But I would have to say any impact window is better than no impact window in the state of Florida.
Yeah. Then you spend a lot of time in the details inside of your kitchen and bath.
Yes, so kitchens and baths obviously are very important, and I again trying to, make myself with the homes that I'm building stand out. One, but two, back to what I originally said, if it's standard, I don't want it. So, I'm really trying to avoid.
You don't like level 1 granite that's been around since the 90s or maybe late 80s at this point?
Or worse, Formica.
Formica, yeah.
Yeah, no.
No, it's just the level 1 granite that I still see every day.
That's pretty, but like when we talk about cabinets, the standard is shaker. And then when you get a shaker cabinet, you get the standard 3 or 4 colors: white, gray, light brown, espresso. Yeah. All of that is, in my mind, obviously, this isn't an interior decorating conversation, but gray's out. Yeah. White's out too, though people don't want to believe it. White is out. So when you have a shaker cabinet with these limited colors that everybody is seeing and we're just disgusted of because it's just been rinsed and repeated so many times. Mm-hmm. I really strive to make my kitchens look different. So, looking at things like using European frameless cabinets and going to a flush door instead of a shaker door, or if it is a shaker, then it's a thin, more contemporary modern shaker versus the traditional shaker. With regards to countertops, I'm a big fan of quartz. A couple of the homes that we currently have under construction, we're using a product called Dectin. If viewers aren't familiar with that, it's one of the only countertops that you can truly take a hot pot off the stove and put it right onto the counter, and it's not going to hurt it. You can open up a bottle of wine, pour it on top of the counter, let it dry. It's not going to stain it. It doesn't scratch, and it's UV. It's got natural UV protection. It's really the only countertop that can be used in an outdoor kitchen situation.
That's a big one, 'cause quartz can.
Absolutely. So looking at using nicer products, bringing on a more contemporary, modern look, and again trying to avoid the standard.
Yeah. Where do you think home building is going? And let me preface this. I grew up in a household where it was banking and building, right? And it seems like those two haven't changed a whole lot.
Let me start by saying where I hope home building doesn't go.
Okay.
And that's continuing down the path that the large majority of the industry is on right now with. Again,
I don't know that you can slow that down. They control interest rates now. They can, right? Builders the nationals builders sitting here in 2025 are doing better than real estate agents, regular buyers and sellers, because they control it.
Absolutely.
From start to finish.
Yes. And then that goes back to the level of quality and attention then to detail. My fear is that if there's not a major correction in the marketplace, we're going to continue to build inferior product.
Yeah. I mean, to me, when you said that, it goes back to like, how do you slow down IKEA? You know, like I don't love sitting there for 6 hours building a table like this.
No.
But it's 50% cheaper, and this next generation is like, I don't care. I don't want my grandmother's table. I don't want quality. I want something that looks good today and that I throw in the dump in
Exactly.
5 years. You know?
I don't know if we should have that mindset, though, when we're talking about a home. And for most people, their largest financial investment in their life. So
for almost everybody.
Absolutely.
Except for the 1%.
So, you know, I think then the product needs to be able to stay around a while without falling apart.
Yeah.
And that can't be said for a lot of homes being built, unfortunately, right now.
Yeah.
They're having problems early on, and then they're going to continue to have problems because we're kind of overlooking some of the basics. We're rushing production.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate. So it's going to be a combination of both the home builder and the consumer, in my opinion. The builders are in they're in a spot because they're trying to make money and report to Wall Street and their stockholders and their investors. And then you have the consumer that's being pinched right now at every turn financially. And so both parties, in my opinion, have to kind of have a reset, in my opinion. We'll start with the consumer. Consumers want quality. They say they want quality. Unfortunately, though, they're a lot of times not willing to pay for the quality. Yeah. What I'm seeing is everybody is buying a new home and they're buying on square footage. They want the biggest house they can get. Well, unfortunately, with that in mind, that's great. You can get a big house, but then you can't expect.
Right. You can't.
Quality should still be there, but level of quality or product quality, that's in itself a different story than when you're talking about a larger home. Because if you want the nicer, base molding and doors and everything that goes into a home, and you want all of that to be nice, but you're building 3,000-4,000 square foot home,
the price tag's going to be there.
Price tag's going to be there. And so what I'm trying to do is say, hey, not everybody needs 3,000 square feet. We may want 3,000 square feet. I'd love to have a big home too, but I don't need 3,000 square feet. But what I do want is quality. So I am a person that's willing to go down in size of square footage of home, but I want it to feel like a 3,000 square foot home that's done very well.
Right.
And that's kind of the approach I'm taking with my homes currently. Is I'm trying to do more of a modest square footage, but the home feels like $1 million.
Right.
The product that's being used in it, most consumers wouldn't see until they started to get up into the price point of $8-9 million plus homes.
Yeah.
And nobody's really doing that in the marketplace right now. There's this mindset of, well, if you want a smaller home, that means you want a more affordable home or a cheaper home. And then if you want a larger home, then that means you want a nicer home. But we know that's not true. Some people are buying large homes, but they can't afford to have it.
Oh yeah.
Everything just the way they want it because it costs a lot of money. And then the people that are buying smaller homes, just because somebody's buying a smaller home doesn't mean they can't afford $1 million home. It's just they don't need all the square footage. They just need nice size rooms, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, large open space living concept. But they don't need all this square footage either. Yeah. And so really nobody, and I don't believe anybody's really filling that void, if you will, of that consumer that's out there. And I know they're out there that, hey, I'm good with 17, 18, 2,000 square feet, but I want it to look really nice.
Yeah, a couple thoughts come to mind. I was working with a buyer that was like, well, how come this price is this and this price is this? How come that you can't build that? This builder can't build this home that was less expensive? And I was like, I had to walk out of the model and sit in the driveway. And I was like, that builder, True Florida Homes, as an example, can build that cheap home. But you understand, now you're buying that product. You're not buying this product that is far better. Like,
correct.
They naturally think like, oh, because they're maybe a bigger builder, they can get prices that are less expensive, that somehow it's the same quality. And I'm like, it's something that's missing with the general public. Like, True Florida Homes can build name the national builder, right? We're not here to bash any national builders, but
of course,
right? Like, all of a sudden the quality is, now you're asking them to build a national home, and you might regret that 2 years, 5 years down the road.
Well, it's like everything. You can go with the biggest manufacturer and get what you're wanting. But I think a lot of consumers are starting to realize, hey, I don't need to always go for name brand to get what I want and get the quality that I'm looking for. And lots of times the names aren't really, the quality's not there with their names anymore anyway. Right. So I tell people, when you're looking to buy a new home, think outside the box. Don't think just the big guys. Try to seek out a small guy, somebody like myself, or of that level, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to get everything you want plus some, and the customer service and that attention to detail and stuff is going to be with that smaller guy. Then,
not to mention the entire bait and switch aspect of building a new home. So you say, oh, well, the base price is X, but by the time you walk out of their design center, which I call the Costco theory, when I go I'm banned from Costco for my spending there, because I go in for a pound of ground beef and I come out with $500 worth of stuff, and I went in for $10, came out with $500, and that's what's happening with a lot of the builders. My base price starts at X. By the time I walk out of the design center, I spend an extra $100,000. And versus looking at the builder and saying, well, what's included already with True Florida Homes and what's not included with this builder? Because they're going to grab you with that bottom price, and the consumer gets excited. Oh, I can get a 2,000 square foot home for $400,000, but you don't realize that when you actually sign the contract, it's $500.
Sure. Well, the base price is what I call just the vanilla ice cream. But you're not getting anything on top. Right. You're not getting any sprinkles. You're not getting.
Well, you will. You just got to pay for it.
Exactly. That's all extra. So the syrup and the sprinkles and the cherries. You
haven't had ice cream in months. We can't talk about it right now. But.
Well, that's you got to pay for that. Yeah. With me, I'm giving all of that stuff with my
right.
My
home
price.
It's a standard feature it comes with the home. And if you want to choose maybe a different flooring option or upgrade your cabinets or upgrade a lighting pack, right? Like
everything's possible.
Then those are just little nominal things, but you actually start with a base that, I often do that with consumers. I grew up in working in models, right? And so what are our needs first? Then what do we want? If I can get all my needs covered and I can get into a price that's comfortable, now, okay, what's that little budget that we might have that start to cover some of those wants? Right?
Exactly. Some of the other things too, to go back just a little bit, you were asking some of the other things that I do that maybe a lot of other builders don't. When we're talking about insulation above the ceiling, my guys are already up there, so I'm like, cover the garage too.
Yeah.
You're already there. You're going up through the garage to access the rest of the house. Why wouldn't we spend a couple dollars and blow the insulation over the garage too? And unfortunately, that's an option for large majority of builders. That's standard with me. It only makes sense. We're already up there. Let's do it. We know that it's going to keep the garage 10 plus degrees cooler. So, it's the stuff that you don't see that's very important.
I tell people that all the time. All models are beautiful. It's what's behind the walls that's the important part.
Exactly.
And consumers don't think about that. They just see pretty model. And then we walk them over to a spec house. They're like, well, wait, that's not the same house. I'm like, no, this is the same house. This is their standard features. In the model, they put the $100,000, $200,000 worth of bonuses. And you're like, oh, okay. I think the other thing that the consumer, like if we're truly, hopeful that this is going to get out to the consumer, is that you can actually build a home that fits their lifestyle, right?
Correct.
Like most builders, you go and you say, okay, here's our 7 floor plans. You can flip the house. You may be able to do 2 or 3 options, right? We can blow out the primary bath, make it a little bit bigger if that's what they need. But there's only a handful of little options.
Sure.
Versus like truly sitting down with somebody and saying, if we need to cover your needs first. And for the majority of the consumer, it goes back to, well, yeah, we can build you a 3,000 square foot home, but that's not, your needs are not covered because your bonus room in that house that you don't step into, or the dining room that you never use, is not your needs. That might be a want, but it's not the need, right? And so how do we build a house that fits your lifestyle? Like, how do we build a property that you're going to use 99% of it instead of 80% of it?
Exactly.
Right? Like, I would always do that with consumers. Like, okay, how many times do you use your dining room in the last 3 years?
Exactly.
6 times. Okay, so at $250 a foot or $350 a foot times that square footage, you're writing a check for $30,000 to use it 6 times. Oh, light bulb goes off.
Or another feature in the home that most people want it, but then they end up not using it, or they use it early on and then they stop using it. And that's a big garden tub or some kind of tub in the master bathroom. And 9 times out of 10, when I've gone to people's houses, even some of my family that have those big tubs in their master bathroom, they're full of laundry.
Yep.
Or whatever else. It's a collect-all area. They don't have kids anymore that they have to bathe, and they're bathing them in the master bathroom. The other bathroom still has a tub, but for whatever reason, they were bathing the kids in the master bathroom, but the kids are growing up now and they don't have time to get in the tub. So this tub now is sitting in the middle of the bathrooms collecting dust.
Yep.
So it's things like that people think, they want it or they need it, but then they end up, spending all this money for it and they never use it.
Tubs are not going down in price either. So
no, like everything.
Beautiful. The beautiful ones are like skyrocketing from what I've seen recently.
Yes.
And that's like, I tell people that's your Vanity Fair piece, right? Like, it looks good in a picture. The only time the tub looks the best is the day we sell your house and we do a beautiful photo and it's and 99% of the time it's not used.
Correct.
So what's the process like with True Florida Homes? Like, if I'm a consumer and I'm coming, I maybe have a lot in mind, or walk me through your process.
So we can build on your lot. Currently, we have a couple of standard floor plans that we're currently building as specs that are being built at a what you would consider a semi-custom level. But if a customer has a house plan that they want on their home, we can look at and do building that for them as well. So we can offer what we have as a floor plan, and if that doesn't work, then we can find something that will work for them and be able to build that. Yeah.
So if I'm a consumer and I potentially have a lot and I potentially have a floor plan, walk me through your process. Like, what can and what can't I do?
So, if it's truly a full-on custom home, I like to say sky's the limits, and that just all
it's semi-custom because obviously on any given lot you have setbacks and
of course,
yes,
it has to be able to fit onto their
I tell people,
lot.
Unless you have 5 acres, we are semi-custom. But as soon as you got
Correct.
5 acres, we build whatever you want.
But if the 2,500 square foot home can fit on the house, and they want to design from scratch 2,500 square foot home that will fit within the parameters of their lot, then we can do that for them. Semi-custom is typically. So to explain to everybody, because there's always some confusion between production building and then semi-custom and custom. So production building is just that. It's rinse and repeat production. Semi-custom is we're taking a standard plan and building it over and over, but we're taking it to the next level to be almost equivalent to a custom home with a lot of the finishes and looks.
So they can pick out from flooring to cabinets,
pick their colors, what have
textures.
Textures.
That's one thing that I noticed about your homes right away.
Yes,
right? There's knockdown and there's everything that's better.
Yes, so I'm not a big fan of heavy knockdown.
Yeah,
both on the exterior and the interior. Just not a fan. That look is got.
But it hides everything.
It does hide. Well, and that's
popcorn ceilings will never go out of style.
That all of that stuff was, I really believe, was brought onto the scene to help cover the imperfections
100%.
as we continue to degrade how we were building and our standards of how a finished product should look.
Right.
So we came up with, well, if we put more texture on the wall, it'll cover up all the imperfections. So semi-custom though for us would be, we can't change the plan because it's still a production plan. But what we're able to do is everything else with regards to finishes. So that's kind of the semi-custom. It's the hybrid, if you will, of production and custom. It's when you buy a semi-custom home and you had nothing to do with it, typically a lot of the options are in that home, and it just makes it easier for the consumer because they don't have to think about anything. We've addressed everything, that most people would want in a nicer home, where then you step up to custom. Custom is just that. You can customize everything and anything.
Most builders, what I found though too, is that semi-custom means where you have a few options on the floor plan, and then you have to come into the design center and pick from what we've already pre-selected for you.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have a set budget when I'm building a home, and if a customer comes in time to make those changes, great. This is the starting point, which again is higher than most. Yeah. And then send you off to a design center or one of the vendors that we're using that have in-house design centers, and you go and pick what you want, and whatever that difference is,
and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right? If somebody came to you and said, "Hey, Rich, I found this beautiful handmade tile in Italy, and it's going to cost this, but I already bought a case of it, or a pallet of it, and it's going to be enough to cover whatever." You don't care, right?
No.
Yeah.
My standard price is my standard price, and then after that, whatever you want to do.
Sky's the limit.
Exactly.
Go pick out your $70 a square foot tile, and we're happy to install it.
Absolutely.
What's your commitment to your clients, right? To the people that you're building for?
I always like to say my phone's always on. I guess that's the nice thing with a smaller builder like myself is I don't have hundreds and hundreds of customers. So, it makes it pretty easy for a customer to get a hold of me. And I like that. I like being able to be hands-on and be there for my clients, not only through the whole process of construction, if where, if our paths meet up and they want to go through the process with me. But after closing, the relationship still continues. Yeah. And that's the key word for me. It's relationships. I'm not just building a house and then walking away and forgetting about that house or that. Yeah, no. I'm the person you're going to get a hold of, and we're going to address the problem. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing is once the home closes, I'm still very much part of that home.
It's got your name on it.
It's got my name on it. And then, the relationship with the customer themselves. So, I'm going to be there.
Yeah. To me, you're one of those guys that, you think about like, the first customer you put in your home, like what's the story they're going to tell in 30 to 50 years, right? Just the difference of.
Well, I can tell you my first customer that bought my first home is absolutely in love with her home, and she tells everybody and anybody that'll listen to her, and we've become good friends over the whole course of things. So she's really not a customer anymore. She's a friend, and a good friend. When she's in town, we get together for drinks and meet up at a tiki bar and have, appetizers, and I enjoy the relationship.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said about somebody that picks up their phone, does what they say they're going to do, and builds quality product, right?
That's what I strive for every day.
Yeah. We're walking your soon-to-be model, and you were just going through some of the, what you're seeing in the marketplace, right? What you're seeing in terms of, I just don't want to build the same cookie-cutter home time and time again. And so I think it's interesting that you're that in tune with what's coming next in the marketplace, right?
So that goes back early on when I launched my company. I spent a lot of time first researching where was I going to plant that first flag for True Florida Homes, and I picked Brevard County, and I could have gone anywhere in the state of Florida. I picked Brevard, and then when I looked at Brevard County as a whole. And looked at what's going on north to south, I chose to go north. Most of my counterparts are in the south. Yeah. And so North Brevard County is, in my opinion, underserviced in multiple regards. But we're talking about homes. So in home building, I believe the area is underserved. I looked to see, okay, I know the type of homes I want to build, more modern, contemporary, fresh, vibrant, lots of technology, just the latest and greatest that people really would like in a home. And then I looked up to see, okay, well, who is going to be my potential customers? Well, that was a no-brainer then for me because, right across the river from Port St. John, Titusville area where we're currently building is, in my opinion, everything future. Yeah. Everything future for the county, for the country, and for the world is happening right here in our own backyard, right across the river. Yeah. And I started to look at, well, who are those people out there working, and what's their incomes, and just who are they in general? And a lot of them are younger, educated, maybe not so great with fixing homes and home maintenance, but they're great at launching rockets and they're great at bringing them back to Earth and landing them on a platform out in the middle of the ocean, but they don't have a clue how to maintain a home. Yeah. And so, well, what are those people looking for? Well, obviously they're looking for new. And then because they're younger, they're techie, a lot of them are engineers and stuff. What are they looking for in their homes? Technology.
Yeah. Well, I think they're engineers, and so they're also looking at, right, like quality has a lot to do with.
Absolutely. So I started to break down, okay, so who is my customer going to be here now in North Brevard County? And so my target audience that I'm building homes for is for people working out at the space industry and everything connected to the space industry. And then, we have a lot of people moving down from the Northeast and even coming over now from California. And what do we know about those consumers? Well, they're selling their big homes up in New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, California, and then they're coming to Florida. And more times than not, they're not looking to replace the large home that they had where they came from.
Right.
They're looking for something a little smaller. They're looking to downsize. But what are they not willing to compromise on? Quality.
Yeah.
So when I looked at the overall customers that are out there in the real estate pool with North Brevard County in particular, because that's where I decided to start, building first with my company, I started to realize that, hey, there's a bigger section or bigger group in this overall category of people looking to buy homes that would like to have a product like I have that I'm building up there. Just because it's not up there right now doesn't mean it shouldn't be there or it can't be there. Just it hasn't been done.
Right.
And so that's what we're doing is we're kind of bucking the trend, if you will. I'm in an area that predominantly has, nice homes, but they haven't seen the next level of homes being built. But it's coming. It has to come. The area is just evolving.
Yeah.
And with that, everything has to evolve.
Yeah.
So you're going to start seeing more nicer and nicer homes up in North Brevard County, and rightfully so. Some people don't want to leave work and have to commute, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, sometimes whatever it takes to get back down to, maybe some other areas in Brevard County to live. They rather live right across the river.
Yeah. Well, you never know when you're working at the Space Center, you might be working all night because
apparently a couple of the employers out there sound like they like to keep people working all night long.
Yeah.
So on standby.
If it doesn't launch, you better stand by and go for it. Yeah. It was interesting. I was talking to a colleague and we were just noticing too that, around the quality and really the finished product and no doubt, Brevard County has been hit with some challenging times in real estate. All of Florida is now feeling it. I think all of the nation is finally starting to feel it. We've been living in it for 8 months now, I think, arguably easy. And we noticed there's been 2 properties recently that are not big homes. They're both on the water, one just under 3 million, one just under 4 million, and on the market and off the market in under a week. And it was that light bulb moment yesterday for me that went, right? Like if it's a finished turnkey property, it moves.
It does. Yeah. A lot of people don't want to wait. When they make a decision to buy a home, they're ready to buy a home. The last thing they want to do is have to sign a contract and then wait 9 months, 10 months.
Well, we live in a microwave society. People come to me like, why can't a builder just put that thing up in 90 days? I'm like, you haven't built a house yet. But
no.
When you follow your house through the process, you'll understand that it takes some time.
So you do a large majority consumers out there don't want to wait. Or when they find out how long it actually is going to take to go through the whole process, they don't want to deal with that. So, and that's why we're building the spec homes that we're building. We're building a nice home with the hopes that somebody will be like, that's the type of home I want, and it's ready to go. And that's what we're able to deliver.
2 questions that kind of correlate. Where do you see floor plans going? Right? Because I think I'm a floor plan guru. I love floor plans and trying to study, if you'd shown somebody an open floor plan that we're building today, 20, 30 years ago, they say you're crazy. Like that would never work. And now it's taken off. Follow-up question to that is, where do you think like materials and finishes and like what's coming next?
Sure. So with floor plans, I continue to see that open concept staying around. It's what everybody wants now. Nobody wants to be tunneled into a house, into a skinny hallway any longer. When we talk about kitchen and living room, a lot of floor plans, you're not seeing that formal dining anymore because of what you said. The large majority of us don't use them, or if we use them, it's a couple times a year for special occasions. Most of the time now it's just spent eating at a kitchen island or in a breakfast nook. I open floor plans are definitely going to continue to be the leader of the pack. I know for myself, as a preference, I prefer sprawling one-story homes versus a compact two-story home. Now, obviously, there's a reason for that, to have a two-story home, especially when you're trying to get square footage because of the lot sizes.
Right. Put a septic, put propane, whatever you need on that.
But
eats up most
again,
of the lot.
if I have a choice between a one-story and a two-story, I'd rather have the larger one-story than the two-story. With regards to product and finishes, what I see coming and going to be staying around for quite a while, obviously, future smart homes or super smart homes are here to stay. Everybody's wanting that. Everybody's loving everything integrated into the whole home
amazing.
Network. It's just.
I'm on my Nest every day, like temperature down, temperature up, temperature down, temperature up.
And now you can control the lights and the fans and everything that your heart desires. You can just basically control via voice anymore with the numerous different systems and programs that are out there that can be built into the home. So definitely we're going to continue to see that. So anything, smart technology wise is definitely going to continue to just get better and better. With regards to finishes, the standards or what we've seen for so long,
where do you see the fun, what gets you excited about where finishes can go? Let me rephrase that question.
So in my mind, where I see finishes going, no texture on the walls. Mm-hmm. We did already discuss that and why there's texturing for the most part on walls. I see us going back to, I think the trend is going to be more minimalistic. Mm-hmm. So we're going to see, smooth walls, clean lines, things like baseboard, I think are going to go away in a lot of homes. I know a lot of people raise their eyebrows when I say that, but I see that going away. If a customer still wants a baseboard, just because they're so used to it, I see that being integrated into the wall with being flush with the sheetrock instead of that how we've traditionally done it, and then it collects all the dust and all of that. So if baseboard is still an option for some people, I see that being integrated into the wall and kind of being a flush system. But I actually see, I see that all that heavy trim going away. Obviously there's still a lot of mixed emotion about crown molding, when we talk about ceilings or in coffords, and one could make the argument that we still need something like that now to be able to integrate the LED lighting that everybody likes to see up in the ceilings. So then of course you would need to have something like crown molding up there. But even that,
I've seen some pretty cool,
without the crown
inlaid, super slick,
so
you drywall basically over this cover plate and the light glows around the corner.
Yeah, it's called shadow gap.
Very
popular in Europe, very popular in South America, Central America. We're a little behind the times with some of that stuff here in the United States. as a whole. Of course, when you talk about that kind of product, you get back down to South Florida. That's a whole nother level, and that's where we're starting to see that stuff. And so the days of the Spanish or the Tuscany look and the heavy woods and the heavy colors, all that stuff's going away. I really see the houses going to more of a minimalistic approach with the finishes of the home. Now, however you want to decorate it after the fact is up to you. But just as the norm, though, a lot of the standard stuff that we've seen in building construction, I see that becoming less and less popular.
Well, we'll go full circle here and kind of wrap up, right? Like, maybe you do need some IKEA furniture because your 20-year-old furniture that worked with your old house, you know, I've seen it time and time again. You know, somebody builds this beautiful brand new home, but then we go, oh, well, that's grandma's table, and that's that's the desk that I grew up with, and it'd be very interesting to see how furniture design, all of that aspect. We're working with some pretty amazing designers right now, and it's like, you know, how do you bring in some of that transitional minimalist that ties in with the home?
Sure. And then another thing too that I see happening, and it's been going on for a while. Most of your high-end interior decorators have been pushing it for years, but we're starting now to see it trickle down into what I'd just say the normal houses. But that's color washing the walls, or what I mean by that is the walls, the trim, the doors, and the ceiling are all now the same color. Mm-hmm. There is no more making things stand out, opposites. Making the trim stand out, the doors stand out, the ceiling always being white.
No,
that look, I believe, is going away.
Yeah.
So.
Thank goodness, too, because if anybody's ever had to repaint a room and somebody cut it in improperly, then you're like, horrible. Well, now I got to cut it in to match it, to hide the color, whatever it might be. What's some of the goals for you for True Florida Homes over the next, I always like to talk, what's the 1 year goal? What's the 3 year goal? What's the 5 year goal?
Well, the 1 year goal was to survive.
Yep. Welcome to home building.
We did that. We're coming on to our second anniversary here next month. So I'm excited about that. It's just getting our name out there, getting realtors and the consumers just to come through our houses just to see what else is out there. That basically there are other alternatives to just the standard. Yeah. So that's probably going to be my biggest challenge, if you will, is trying to figure out how to just get more people to come through the door and see why what we're doing stands out. And,
it's different and better.
It is. It really, but seeing it in pictures on Realtor.com or Zillow, that doesn't help. You need to get out there and take a look at it. So I really want people to come out and walk through the homes, ask questions, and then they'll start to realize that, hey, this home is what it is for a reason. Right. Because it's different.
Yeah. What's 5 year?
5 year, well, I don't want to be a large builder to the point that I don't enjoy doing what I'm doing anymore.
Yeah. More houses mean more people, which means more problems.
More problems. That was, one of the reasons why I started my own business and didn't want to go back into the national home building world, because I'm enjoying doing what I'm doing, which is hands-on with the customers, hands-on with my homes, being able to be creative and not being shot down for creativity. And so I want to continue to grow my home building company and continue to put homes on the ground, but I don't want it to get to the point where I can't handle it or manage it, and it's controlling me, and then I'm not enjoying doing what I'm doing anymore. Yeah. So I definitely want to grow. Definitely want to, obviously, like all of us, want to make money, but I want to make sure that I'm able to keep a balance as well.
Yeah. Stay small and mighty and take care of the customer, build quality.
Yep.
All fantastic things. Truly a great time catching up with you and talking about some of those things. I think, when we first met, that was one thing that stood out to me, that you care.
I do care. Sometimes I care.
Sometimes you care too much, yes. And that's a good thing. When the consumer's on the other side and they know that you care, like they won't remember what you say, but they'll remember how you made them feel in their new home, right?
Correct.
So, awesome. Thank you guys so much for checking this out. True Florida Homes. We'll link up everything in the show notes. Thanks for checking this one out.
Thank you.